Hello and welcome to another one-on-one chemistry lesson by Johnny, and this is my student Anne. So we're working on learning activity 2.6, analyzing the impact of using compounds. Like for example, if you use chemical compounds, what could be the impact, the cost, the impact on the environment, the impact on the people, impact on the health of people, something like that. Okay, so we were talking about cost analysis of using compounds now. So, and would you say drilling? Drilling onto the floor, drilling to the ground to extract oil is a better way to extract oil sands than mining. What do you think?
Well, like it costs like a lot.
I mean, mining you have to dig like a huge hole, on into the ground,
Yeah.
But drilling, basically, you just have to dig like a small hole, I would say, and very deep, and then you see that the oil just come up. So what do you think?
I would say that drilling is like it's a dangerous job because like
You never know when you would
basically-
tap into something,
Yeah.
If you tap into like a pocket of oil, something down there at the, and then maybe you explode it. Maybe, who knows? Anyway, but drilling is actually still being used, and so basically, when you tap into like an oil reserves down under the ground, basically it will just come up. Or we have to suck it up from the underground, because millions and millions and trillions of creatures, they die in the past and they become fossil fuel, oil and coal, So to get them, you just have to tap into the right place sometimes.
So I'd say
Yes.
drilling would be like a better way than
You think so?
mining.
Then write the whole
What?
sentence, please. Write the whole sentence.
Yes. Just close.
Oh, again, please. I think you forgot to share the correct screen or window. Just share the whole thing. I mean, okay, like that, yeah. So it won't, goes off.
I say Yeah, so drilling is a better way than mining. It's more efficient. You're like using a giant drill to like dig straight underground to make a big hole to find oil. But the cost is you are like polluting the environment around you, hurting some of other nature's creation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so suggested answer. Then, if you said yes, many would agree with you. It's not preferred way to extract oil from the sand from most. Uh-huh. And it may be reduced because you drill. You just basically drill a small holes. It's not like a whole mine, like human heights, like a big hole. And the bigger the mine is, basically, the more manpower and the more energy and the more money must be put into mining. But when you drill, it's just like
Yeah.
a small hole. But actually, what you need is like a very good, very good diamond shape, and actually it's diamond drill. The tip of the drill must be diamond to drill through like hard rocks and things like that.
Yeah. If you consider the perspective of an environmentalist, kind of question might they ask in their cost benefit analysis. So an environmentalist would focus on lack of oil extraction.
Would ask like how much would it damage the environment, how much would it kill the marine species and the local species, how much pollution would it produce,
Yeah.
and how much money is required to clean up after you drill. Clean up after you drill, clean up all the damage too.
How much it would
It costs.
affect, how much it would affect the species BC. Area. Us or clean up. Consolidation. Evaluating the use of ammonia as a household cleaner. So there's just like Alberta oil. Alberta oil sand. Crude oil formed from the remains of a fossil fuel deep beneath the surface of the earth in a process that takes millions of years. Crude oil can be used to make many kinds of petroleum fuel, gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, natural gas. It can be also it can also be converted into a wide range of consumer products, from plastic bag to your computer. In Canada, we have oil reserve in northern Alberta, also known as the Alberta oil sand. What makes the Alberta oil sands special? They are estimated to be one of the
Sorry.
largest deposits of crude oil in the world.
Alberta
Second
oil
only,
sand. All right, that's how like you get crude oil from the underground. Of course, you know these things are formed from billions, literally trillion or billion of creatures that died a long times ago, so they become fossil. That's why we call them
yeah,
fossil fuel. You know, they just come from the corpses of like so many plants and animals that died throughout like millions of years. So the deeper you dig underground, of course, the older the corpses become. Because you know sand or earth and everything, it moves, yeah. So
yeah,
layers after layers after layers, it move on top of each other. So basically, old corpses they just get deeper and deeper into the underground, you know, into the ground. So basically, when you dig deeper into the under the ground, you learn a lot about their history. Like you can learn about how the creatures looks like, things like that.
and how they were like, how they die and
Yes, exactly. But the thing is, like digging under the ground is not easy because you have to encounter a lot of hard rocks, very hard rocks. And until now, we human knows a lot about the universe, but we don't know much about what's underground because of this. It's not easy to dig underground, you know.
yeah. Extraction is not easy. The oil, also called bitumen, is much thicker than normal crude
bitumen.
It is so thick that it cannot flow without first being heated or mixed
Mixed with
with
water.
water. That means the oil can't simply be pumped out of the ground,
Which is what
which is
usually
what
happens. So basically, you have to provide water in there, and you have to heat it up so that the whole thing becomes liquidish, so you can suck it out from the ground. Otherwise, it will not flow. So that's why. So basically, that's one extra step you have to do. Instead, it need to be extracted using different techniques.
yeah. How is the oil extracted? So two methods are used for oil sand extraction: mining, drilling. The method used depends on how far below the surface the oil sand is found. Mining. When oil sand are near the surface, they can be dug out of the ground, mined, using large shovel. About 20% of the oil sand can be extracted through mining. During During mining, the top layer of tree and soil are stripped away, exposing the oil sand.
sands.
The oil sand are dug out of the ground with huge power shovel and loaded onto giant dump truck. They are then transported to the nearby extraction facility for processing, as seen in this image.
So basically, giant trucks, giant power. What's it called? Power shovel. I mean,
Yeah.
just really powerful. So it can, how can I say, dig into the ground, and so bring the whole thing to trucks. Just really powerful.
Yeah. Once the oil sand is dug out of the ground, the oil needs to be separated from the sand.
Separated from the
Extract-
sand, the extraction process requires between 2 to 4 barrels. So that's require a lot of water, you see. 4
Yeah.
barrel fresh water, 2 to 4, yeah.
Four barrels of fresh water for every barrel of crude oil produced. After the oil is extracted, the leftover material, called tailing, containing water, sand, and oil,
Residue
Residue.
are whatever leftover, whatever leftover from after you have extracted the oil out, whatever leftover are the residue. So basically, the water will be drowned off, and then they will be recycled or reused. Because water is precious, of course, we don't want to waste them. So we reuse them, and then we use that water to extract new oil, new ones. And one more thing, water is actually heavy. Actually, water is very heavy to carry. So you don't want to carry a long distance. It would increase the cost, Like new water you have to bring from other places. That's increase the cost. And also, if you how you deal with all the water that remains after you have in the solid tailing, If you just basically throw it out to the environment, it would pollute everything. That's very bad. So people have to choose to recycle or reuse them.
Drilling. When the oil sand are deep below ground, they are extracted using steam drilling well.
In this technique, a hole is drilled several hundred meters down.
Until it reaches a deposit of oil sand.
Sands.
Then steam is injected into the well to melt oil out of the sand so that it can be pumped to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
The result is pure crude oil without any sand. Most of the oil sand are extracted using this method. Produce a well, inject a well.
Because sand, the sand it doesn't melt easily, like 4,000 degrees something it will melt, but the steam is probably just about 200 to 300 degrees Celsius maximum. So when you inject the steam into the well, it melts the oil out. Of course, it melts the oil, but not the sand. So basically, the oil will combine, it will melt, and then you can just suck it up and then bring it up to the surface, and the sand will remain down there.
Yeah.
So results pure crude oil without any sand. Start using this method. Steam bearing for oil.
Drilling create minimal disturbance to the land because it doesn't require the destruction of a large
You don't have to
section of.
destroy the forest.
Yeah.
Because you basically need to have only one tiny holes, to drill. Like small holes to drill from. Compared to mining, drilling is way, way, way more environmentally friendly.
It doesn't require the destruction of large section of forest. It also uses significantly less water, about half a barrel of fresh water for every barrel of crude oil produced. Extraction using steam, however, does require burning a lot of fossil fuel to heat the water into steam. Natural gas is most often used as the energy source. Although this is the cleanest way to burn fossil fuel, this process still releases carbon into the atmosphere, polluting the environment.
Because where does the steam come from? You have to heat up the water. And by heating up water, you have to use fossil fuel. Which is weird because you are getting fossil fuel out of the ground. But first, you have to use fossil fuel to heat up the water. You understand what I mean, right? So it does cost fossil fuel to heat up the water, then you can have the steam to do this. And of course, you use fossil fuel to heat up the water, it pollutes the environment somehow. Still, it still releases CO2 in the atmosphere, still polluting the environment.
Important for making any modern material and consumer goods such as
Polyester, using clothing.
Yeah. Polyester.
Polystyrene used for packaging. You know the thing that the white spongy thing that they put inside of the package whenever you do shipping, right?
Yeah, it's like
those things.
soft.
Yeah, those things you pop it. These are polystyrene, and also the white thing that what's that white thing, and the clear things too. They are polystyrene, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, polystyrene. I think it's called bubble wrap. Bubble wrapped.
Bubble wrap.
Because basically bubbles, it's just bubble and you pop it. Pop, pop, pop. Yeah.
Asphalt roads are making using tar from crude oil. Many cleaning products and some even cosmetic are made from crude oil. Oil helped to create agriculture fertilizer used around the world to grow crops. Most of the food supplies depends on having enough oil to make chemical fertilizer. As the world population grow, increasing amount of chemical fertilizer will be needed to produce food to feed an expanding population. Use of crude oil. The world uses a lot of energy and most of it comes from fossil fuel such as oil. Canada is one of the highest user of fossil fuel energy per person in the world. Crude oil can be processed into different types of food products, such as oil for heating your home, gasoline for running from your car, and electricity that powers everything, from light to cell phone charger. About a third of Canada energy comes from oil. So think it's like things made from oil. Economics of oil extraction. Even though crude oil is a limited natural resource,
It is.
it isn't always economically cool to extract.
Economically.
Econo- Economically. The price of oil per barrel is set inter, internationally. When the price of oil is high, this leads to jobs creation in the oil and gas industry. In Alberta, there are more than 100,000 jobs related to this industry. When the price of oil per barrel is low, many individuals lose their job.
Of course, because many people they depend on those oil industry to create things,
Yeah.
and then unemployment is always a risk you have to take.
The price of oil is connected to both the increase and the decline
The
of
increase,
economic.
both the increase and decline. Increase, basically noun increase. The verb is increase,
Yeah.
connected to both the increase. But then decline is like the verb and the noun still decline, So both the increase and the decline of economic growth. Of course, oil is so important for the economy now. It's like you cannot get away from it, even though it pollutes the environment so much. Still, there's no real way to get away from it, People still need to deal with it. Even though if we have other ways, alternative energy sources, like solar power, solar panels, wind power, nuclear power, but still, fossil fuel is still very efficient. It produces a lot of energy that we need, and immediately. So that's why we still need to use it, still need to depend on it.
Yeah.
It's not that easy, Life isn't easy.
Yeah. Environmental effect. The extraction of the oil sand has a significant environmental impact on the local area. As you can see on the following image, mining requires that forests be cut down and topsoil removed. Tailing produced contain high level of toxic metal such as mercury, lead, and arsenic. There is a risk that tailing pond could leak toxin into nearby rivers. Drilling used lots of fresh water obtaining from local river to make them steam. Extracting and processing oil sand release huge amount of carbon dioxide into atmosphere. Greenhouse gas that is known to contribute to global warming.
Of course, very bad global warming. Because people still need to use it and burn CO2. You know, CO2, it's a substance that traps the heat wherever it goes. It traps the heat. So as the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere increases, it traps the heat from sunlight, you know, and so the heat cannot really escape to the outer space. So as a result, the Earth's temperature increases. And that's called global warming. That's why you see now the temperature is much warmer than before.
Yeah.
It's not a nice scenario at all. Sooner or later, some areas around the Earth will be uninhabitable, which means like we cannot live there anymore. Too hot, way too hot, something like that.
Health and safety. Mining, drilling, and processing oil sand are all potentially dangerous jobs for workers. Large, dangerous machinery and extreme environmental conditions can injure or even kill workers. The chemical in crude oil and in the tailing pond can damage the health, worker, and people living in the people living in the area.
You inhaling it, of course, people's gonna get affected. Long-term health effect. Contaminated fish.
These are certain at low concentration of several dangerous elements are being released in the Aspaka region. Among them are
mercury, lead, not lead, it's
mercury.
lead. Lead is basically a
Mercury.
heavy metal. Lead, arsenic, it's very lead and arsenic, mercury, both. I mean, all those three are dangerous. They are toxic to human. And nickel, well, nickel, we need nickel sometimes. The indigenous people who live in North America relies on water flow to. Well, human, we can't stop being dirty.
Yeah.
Wherever human
Take a
goes,
break.
they produce trash and they damage the environment. But luckily, we are trying our best to limit that now, while still making enough oil for everyone to use.
Yeah.
Life's not easy again. Okay, let me take a break first. Alright, let's get back to it now. Alright. Alright. Share your screen again, please. your screen share again? It just stopped again. Weird. I'm waiting until we can get like the reaction so I can start using my new iPad. It's getting a bit more heavy, but well, we pay for quality.
Checking the sky.
Mhm.
3.1. Before starting, brainstorm a list of items you think of found in the sky. Star. And that's
The list of time you found in the sky, object in the sky. Weird. Now it's 3.1, observing a night sky. Strange, right? So
Yeah.
it's not exactly chemistry. I think it's science in general.
yeah, just science. Anyway,
Mhm.
out. Yeah. Concept of space has long been a source of curiosity for many. Throughout time, people, including indigenous people in North America and ancient Greek astronomer, have linked aspect their
Astronomer.
astronomer astronomer have linked aspect of their everyday life in the movement of object in the sky and to what they observe through a cultural lens. For instance, some cultures saw sky and space as the home of their gods, where their creation story began, or as a way of predicting the future. Many cultures planted crop and harvesting them according to the phase of the moon. Stars were used for navigation by some. We originated from the star. We are star people.
We are
The
star people.
Genesis-
That sounds weird.
Yeah.
They say we are star people. That sounds really weird, don't you think?
Yeah. The Genesis mythology say this is where we come from.
Mhm.
We come from those stars. We are related to those stars. Once we finish doing what we come here to do, we go back up to the star, to those stars. Read the following article or watch the video. Many astronomers observe and record the movement of the planet, the star, and the moon.
Astronomers are different from astrologer, because astronomy deals with like the planets and the stars, and physical and chemical and maybe biological characteristics. But astrology is dealing with how the star affect humans, like events and characteristics of human, how people love, how people deal with each other. Like astrology, it's like the Zodiac and all the star sign, things like that. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the discoveries they made are still relevant today, as the technology of observation and data collection improved. So did our understanding and knowledge of space. These are like early astronomer using a telescope. In this activity, you learn about some of the objects visible in the night sky and how civilization in the past understood them. You also learn about the technology of the telescope and how it was dramatically increased our knowledge of space. The wonder of space. If you look up the sky on a clear night, you see just a part of the wonder of space. You may recognize some group of stars,
Asterism or
certain
constellation. Constellation, basic stella. Stella means star. Constellation means a collection of many different stars that forms like a group of stars, you know, and they form a kind of shape. Like just a group of stars, they call constellation. And they may have different shapes according to humans' imagination. So we call it Ursa Major, which is mean the big bear, and the Little Dipper or Ursa Minor, which means like the small bear, you know.
Oh,
So basically, we just imagine according to the shapes that these stars form, and we can just name them in human imagination back then, you know.
yeah.
Polaris. The North Star is actually the brightest star in the night sky. And there's also another bright star, which is called Venus. You know, BV. It's not a star. It's a planet.
Yeah.
Venus. Heard about Venus?
Yeah, Venus. Like
Of course,
closest
because
to the
Venus
sun.
is very clear, very close to the sun. So we often see them like in the morning sundown. You know, you can see them very, very bright on the sky. Venus, but not really Mercury. It's difficult to see Mercury sometimes. But Venus is very bright.
Much more of the night sky is visible if you live in a small community or, or rural area, rather than in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Two forms of pollution reduce the visibility in larger cities. The first is air pollution, and the second is light pollution, which come from street light and buildings.
So when there's
These
so many
will-
lights, you cannot see the night sky easily. That's what it's called light pollution, you know. And light pollution causes you to never be able to sleep totally, like, you know, within like darkness. So there will always be some kind of street light, something. And so it may disturb people's sleep cycles or circles, sleep cycles, sorry. And people might feel tired after they wake up because of light pollution. But anyway, these form of pollution prevent you from seeing the fainter stars. So it means like smaller, less visible star is hard to see because of light pollution. And air pollution too, because when the air is like not clear, you cannot see clearly anything.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So it's like it depends where you live. It's like there's
and a ton of light.
so this is nighttime in Times Square, New York City. Nighttime in a small town. Constellation. When people in the Asian world gaze up at the star, they thought they could see Pan in the way of some bright star or group.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a huge game of connect the dot. Today, these group of bright stars known as constellation.
Constellation.
Constellation, sorry. Can you recognize the star in the W shape represent? They form a well-known constellation called Cassiopo- Cassiopeia. Is that how's it called? This constellation is located to the right of the Little Dipper.
Mm-hmm.
The ancient Romans later renamed the constellation using Latin names instead of Greek. Many of the Latin names are still used today. Constellations are often named after mystical men, Hercules, and women, Andromeda.
There's so many things we still use today.
Hercules like a god, like a demigod.
Yes, Hercules is a demigod. Basically, he defeats Goliath, I think. Is it the thing? Hercules. Basically, he's one of the strongest man alive. I mean, a demigod. I'm not so sure about this thing. But there's a lot of things that try to mimic their name, you know. People make a lot of things that try to mimic the demigod name. Achilles, demigod. Achilles, Goliath, something like that, you know.
As well as animal, Cetus the whale, and Leo the lion. The 12 constellations in the diagram correspond to the
zodiac
zodiac.
sign using horoscope. You know about zodiac sign, right?
Yeah,
So what's your zodiac sign then? When's your
I think
birthday?
it's October. So,
October something.
so, yeah.
You are Libra, I'm sure, because I read
Yeah.
about it. I asked your mom before. I'm a Cancer.
What?
It's zodiac sign Cancer. I mean, the crab.
Oh, the crap.
Cancer, the crab. Not the disease. Basically, I have no idea how they arrive at these kind of names, just based on like the shape of these stars. It's impossible for me to visualize something like that. They all look the same to me. Virgo, Scorpio, Pisces, the two fish swimming in the opposite direction. No idea how people arrive at these kind of shapes, and they can name those things. Seriously. Gemini is the two babies that has opposite their characteristic. Basically, it's horoscope is a wide topic. It's a very huge subject to study, but it's very interesting too. If you want to read it, I have books. In understanding horoscope, you can understand about a lot about people. You know, how they behave, why they behave the way they are, why relationship fails or succeed. You know, and a lot of why. A lot of things can be explained. and why people should work in this field but not in that field, you know. Okay, let's continue.
So this is video.
Yeah, it's good to share the sound. Can you share sound?
Are there constellations
Okay,
that
I
are
hear
visible
now. I
from
hear now. Okay, I hear now. No problem.
Okay.
where? Yes, possibly the most glorious is visible from everywhere on Earth. Orion.
Orion, yeah.
Its pattern links brilliant points of light. Stars are distinctive in Orion's belt. But this is our earthly perspective. Fly 2 circles through space, and the stars of Orion shift position. It's because they lie at varying distances from Earth. Only when we return to Earth do they resume their 2-dimensional pattern. Orion. Who was Orion? In Greek mythology, Orion was a hunter who was killed by a scorpion that stung his heel. So in deference, only as Orion sets do the stars of his slayer rise, well away in Scorpius. The band of pale blue is our galaxy, the Milky Way, backdrop to Antares, the brightest star of Scorpius.
Scorpion, you know.
Pattern really, it looks like a scorpion, especially the tail. It is very distinct, but this is less convincing. Hercules the strong.
I don't see it. I don't see how you can arrive at that picture.
Slain by Hercules. In the pattern of Taurus, the shape of a bull. Easier is Cygnus, constellation of the swan. But this could be anything in fact. Gemini the twins. And who would guess Capricornus the sea goat? Or Sagittarius, half beast, half man? In the northern sky from the northern hemisphere, a popular pattern takes shape. The stars of the Big Dipper, part of Ursa Major, the constellation of the Great Bear.
There you go.
How
Big
many
Bear.
main stars does it have? It has 7 main stars. They change position if you go back or forward 100,000 years. It's because the upper and lower stars travel separately from the other 5. The 5 move as a cluster.
So they move together. The 5 move together. Yeah.
Big Dipper are called the pointers. Merak and Dubhe show the way to Polaris, the pole star. Polaris is in Ursa Minor, constellation of the Little Bear.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Bear was a nymph transformed for an illicit love affair. The Little Bear, her son, transformed for mistakenly hunting her. In punishment, the god Jupiter swung the pair into the sky and stretched their tails.
A lot of like stories like that, you know.
Yeah.
Stars and planets. Mhm. Anyway, it's more important to know about our solar system and all the planets. Okay, let's read it now. Stars and planets. Mm-hmm.
When you look at the night sky, most of the objects you see are stars. But if you look carefully, you will notice a few that appear different. As the Earth rotates, the few of stars move together, but some objects move independently. Through the group of stars, these objects are called planets.
Planets.
The word planet comes from the word
Wanderer.
Greek
Like
wanderer.
the people who just wander around, like without any direction, you know.
Yeah.
Neptune and Uranus. Well, we no longer count Pluto as a planet of our solar system because according to the new system of classification, Pluto is just like a dwarf planet. It's too small to be considered a planet.
Oh.
Sadly.
Set. It's possible to see the closest planet, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. You will need a telescope to see the other two planets, Neptune and Uranus. Mercury and Venus are visible in the early evening or near dawn because Venus is so bright. It is sometimes called the evening star or the morning star. Difference between stars and planets. There are a number of qualities that distinguish stars from planets. Some are summarized in tables. Star, found everywhere in the sky, appear to twinkle, appear white, produce their own light, luminous, always very hot, like the sun. Huge, some bigger than the sun, very far from Earth. Planet. Pour along the sun pathway. Don't
Appear to twinkle, but planets don't twinkle because basically planets, they don't shine on its own, you know, they just reflect the light from the stars. So without the stars, planet would appear like dark, you know, very dark.
Yeah.
So planet, they reflect the light from stars. That's why they don't twinkle like that on the sky. And their light's actually not that great either, because they only reflect.
You can see some of the stars and planet with the unaided eye, and some only with a telescope. There are many free astronomy tablet apps and computer programs available with interactive star map you can't see. You can use these to help you to find your way in the night sky. Use any of them to learn more. Activity. Venus is a planet. White twinkle light in the sky is a star. Night object that rises in the east and set in the
It's always
west along the sun.
people calls when it's always people call when I'm busy. Night object that rises in the east and set in the west along the sun's pathway is a what? What is that?
I think it's a planet.
Sure. Rises in the east and sets in the night sky. Actually, it's not those stars that move, it's the Earth that moves. But then from our perspective, we see them like they move from the east and set in the west, right?
Yeah.
It's just because of our perspective. Okay, then answer planet then.
A series of white light in the sky, the shape of a W is a group of stars. Star maps and planisphere.
Planisphere. Wow, that's such a name.
In a planisphere, the star map includes a viewing window can be rotated to review the star and constellation visible for a particular date in the years.
I
Viewing
never know how to use these things.
viewing window imagine what you would see if you look up straight at the sky on a dark night. So it's like when you put up like blue skies, like there will be like symbol star and you can see them.
Mhm.
There are different planispheres designed for use in the northern and southern hemisphere. Planisphere, the star map inside the viewing window can be rotated to reveal the star and constellation visible for a particular date in the years. There are different planispheres designed for use in the northern and southern hemisphere.
Mhm.
Paper planisphere is how you assemble planisphere from the following information below. There can make a planisphere. Just like set your planisphere so that you can see arrangement at star at 8 p.m. December 21st. You do this
No, you
by
don't have to do
rotating.
that. You don't have to do that. Basically,
Yeah.
there are apps online that can help you.
Early interpretation of the night sky.
Astrology.
Many early culture and civilization studied an atmosphere through long-term
Observation with the unaided eye,
observation.
so no telescope at all. They just look with the eyes, and they keep observing the night sky, night after night after night.
Yeah. The unaided eye and detailed record keeping. For example, the ancient Greek and Roman named the constellation to honor their gods in their myth. The Greek and Roman, along with other culture and civilization, invented many instruments to help them observe and predict the motion of star. Layering this kind of activity, you choose different culture and civilization. Summarizing information. One way to summarize information is to use point form, jot notes, and record the information in the chart. Simple heading. If the charts are organized with the same heading, then comparison can be made. For example, information about Chinese and First Nation astronomy is summarized in the chart below. So, Chinese civilization. Can I take a quick break for a few minutes?
Okay, sure. All right, so
Chinese.
What you say?
I didn't say it. Oh, nothing.
Okay.
Chinese civilization, interpretation, calendar, star maps, invented instrument including primarily spear and compass, predict
In the
solar and
congresses.
lunar eclipse. Moon does not produce its own light. First Nation people name Constellation based on community belief. Use Polaris for navigation. Invented star map, calendar, stone wheel. Use the lunar cycle of 28 days. Understood wormholes. They
What?
connected it.
Wormholes?
Yeah, wormholes.
Uh huh.
They connected the lunar cycle to
Woman menstrual cycle of around 28 days. But basically, they say that women and the moon has a very mysterious connection. Their menstrual cycle, woman bleeds every month, right? And
Yeah.
that's according to, and that's basically coincide with the moon cycle as well. So that's why we say that moon is very woman related.
data observed and recorded. More than 100 constellation, 2,500 individual stars, lunar and solar eclipse. Length of shadow by Gmon indicate solstice event. Polaris remains stationary in the moonlight sky. Monthly change in the moon different constellation and pattern identified. Benefit: detailed timekeeping through calendar, support culture belief and creation story, predicted seasonal events such as solstice and environmental change. Make a list tip to help you search. Summarize information. Research the following cultural norms.
Sounds like China is back with COVID again.
Oh.
You're not gonna escape from it. It's the end of the second year already. So this is what you need to read online, like about the different cultures. What do they think about the night sky? What do you think about astronomy? All right, let's continue, please.
Yeah. Yes.
Minds on understanding stars. Actually, it's quite important to understanding the stars and to see how they impact human behavior and events. That's astrology. That's astrology.
Astrology.
As old as the universe itself. So the universe is extremely old, like 14 billion years old, like super old. It's really old. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Understanding star.
What's that?
Star.
Of course. You know, because of lights, the speed of lights, maybe some stars you see there might not even be there anymore, because basically they are too far away from us. The distance between stars are calculated as like light years, you know. So it's extremely far away from us. So the star we see today on the sky might not be even existing anymore. What we see is just like the light from its past. Or maybe it has moved to a different position already. But what we see now is just a light from its past. Because it's so far from us, you know.
Yeah.
It's really far. So the human need to develop new technology now to be able to travel, like warp drive or teleport or something like that. Otherwise, we will never be able to reach the stars. Other stars, I mean.
The celestial body that are most often visible to you at night are as old as the universe itself, close to 14 billion years old. The beginning of the universe is theorized to have been caused by an event called the Big
The
Bang.
Big Bang, yes.
It's like there was like nothing at first to it. Boom.
It just
Explosion.
boom, and then basically a lot of things expand from that Big Bang. I mean, that's just a theory, but there's a lot of evidence to support it now. Well, maybe in the future we'll come up with new theories. We never know. But for now, the Big Bang is like a theory that everyone agrees on. I mean, most of people agrees on. Maybe not everyone.
Yeah, we're in the past. Astronomy, historical perspective. This lesson focuses on modern astronomy and our current knowledge and understanding the origin of the universe and star, including the sun.
The sun was said to be created like about 5-6 billion years ago, I believe.
Then how old is the Earth?
At least I think 100 million years ago. At least. I think the sun, the Earth was formed like about 1 or 2 billion years after the sun, I believe. I remember I read something like that before, and then there's a lot of time for things to evolve. So very slowly, very slowly, they evolve from small chemical substances to become like living things. It takes so many billion of years, like a billion years, something like that. So things evolve very slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And slowly, small things become bigger things, and we have organic substances like living materials now. And slowly they become cells, and then become creatures. Takes forever.
Mhm.
But it does create.
Best scientific explanation we have so far for the origin of the universe is called the Big Bang Theory.
Mhm.
It was proposed in the 1930s by George Lemaitre, a Belgian scientist.
A Belgian
According to this
scientist. A Belgian scientist.
Belgian scientist, yeah. According to this theory, the universe began as extremely small, hot, and dense mass of pure energy known as a singularity,
Singularity.
as an infinite dot.
Indefinitely small dot. Infinitely small dot.
Infinitely small. Inside the singularity, there were no star or planet. There were no molecules, atom, or subatomic
Like
particles.
smaller particle than atom. Smaller than atom particles. Subatomic means smaller than atom. Sub means smaller. Sub means below.
Yeah.
There wasn't
There
even
wasn't
any
even-
space.
Then, about 13.8 billion years ago, in an explosion known as the Big Bang, the singularity began expanding outward very rapidly.
Very rapidly, and even now the universe is still expanding. I mean, according to like our current what's it called? Our current analysis of what's going on in the universe, it seems like it's still expanding. So if we human don't speed up, we will never be able to reach the other stars.
Mhm.
We need to speed up.
As it, the infographic illustrates a summary of the main stage of the universe expansion since the Big Bang about 13.8 billion years ago. Evidence for the Big Bang Theory. By the early 19,000, new types of big reflecting telescope were letting astronomers observe space in much more detail. Astronomers were finding strange new objects and patterns that needed explanation. The Big Bang Theory was able to explain these observations. Over time, scientists have found much more evidence to support the theory through the experimentation.
Experimentation and detailed observation. This is something like you need to read more, I think. Or maybe today's like Tuesday, isn't it? Okay, let's just read a bit more now and then we will stop.
Yeah.
Edwin Hubble and this thing, stars. Hubble. Ever heard about the name Hubble? The telescope, Hubble telescope. That the telescope was named after Edwin Hubble. Yeah. There you go. The universe is continually expanding outward in all directions.
Some microwave background radiation. Big Bang Theory predicted that the universe started out very hot, but cool as it expanded.
Expanded.
Cool
as it expanded. If the theory is correct, scientists predict that the temperature, oh well, be less than 10K, which is extremely cold anyway, minus 263 degrees Celsius. Very cold. So it's really cold out there.
Yeah. To measure the temperature of the universe, you can use light, which is a type of electromagnetic radiation. Other examples of electromagnetic radiation include visible light, radio waves, and X-ray. The type of light giving off an object can tell you its temperature. In 1964, two American scientists working with a telescope that detects radio waves accidentally discovered cosmic microwave background radiation that came from deep space. It can be detected in the background that it is in any direction. They pointed their telescope in their analysis of this radiation showed that space was really cold, around 3K or minus 270 degrees Celsius, exactly as predicted by the theory. The ratio of hydrogen to helium. According to Big Bang Theory, the first element forms hydrogen. Other elements such as helium were derived,
which means originated from, or originated from, or derived from, originated from, or derived from.
at a predictable rate. The Big Bang Theory predicted 3 to 1 mass ratio of hydrogen to helium. This is the ratio that would expect to find in deep space if the Big Bang occurred about 13.8 billion years ago. Using new telescopes that orbit the Earth, such as the Hubble and the Kepler Space Telescope, astronomers can analyze the composition of elements in gas cloud in deep space. They have discovered what the proportion of helium to hydrogen is the same as
what was predicted with Big Bang Theory. Sounds like the Big Bang Theory was something that is really true now, because there's a lot of evidence. Okay, I think it's good for enough today. Maybe don't read too much, otherwise you'll be like, you don't want to read more.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it's good to end now. Okay, that's the end of my videos. Please like, share this video with your friends, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and press on the bell button next to the subscribe button so you can get notified about my new uploads, okay? You can also press follow my Facebook, but please don't add me on Facebook as friends, okay? Cảm ơn các bạn đã theo dõi nha. Các bạn hãy nhấn vào like, chia sẻ video này bạn bè các bạn. Nhấn vào nút đăng ký kênh YouTube mình và nút cái chuông kế bên cạnh cái đăng ký kênh đó, để mà các bạn sẽ được thông báo về những video mới nha. Các bạn cũng có thể nhấn vào nút theo dõi Facebook mình, nhưng nhớ đừng kết bạn Facebook mình nha. Thank you and see you. Bye.